Welcome back. I'm Richard and I have a very special guest with me right now, Linda Pereira. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Let me ask, firstly, what are you up to? Because you are the busiest woman I know.
Yes, I am very busy, but what am I up to? I'm running my communications group, which includes a speakers bureau, a PCO, and of course an association management company. I'm also a consultant to governments on strategy for our sector, and my priority client at the moment is the government of Cape Verde. So the 10 islands in the Cape Verde who have just been voted the executive committee of the World Tourism Organization, so I'm very busy with that.
Even busier than usual.
Yes.
Now, one of the reasons we've dragged you on, and because as usual you're always surrounded by people, we've hauled you away, is because you have been involved in a multi-hub meeting and event. And we want to pick your brains. Tell us about that.
It's an amazing experience. In fact, I was seduced into this conversation and first coming into contact with this idea by Martin, of course, the expert. And Cape Verde is a country that is actually, it's where we tested the idea out. It's composed of islands, okay? And when you have islands, the plane is your bus, okay? But it becomes really expensive for people to be able to participate in conversations, because either you're always flying back and forth or you just don't go to the events. And so we experimented in a country that does not yet have the best internet in the world, but it's enough, and we were greatly supported by the local internet company, the government, etc. And what we decided to do is, when we have the annual Congress on Tourism and Strategies for the whole of the country before the new strategic plan was produced, we wanted, and the minister wanted, everyone to be committed to the plan. So he wanted everybody's input. So how would we do that? Either we forced tiny companies to fly to so we could hear them, or I stepped in, thanks to inspiration by Martin, and what we actually did is we created a hub in each of the islands, okay, 10 islands, 10 hubs, and we have the main hub in the capital city, and we had in the auditorium had the government, the member of government, the experts, etc. And then in each of the different towns, we experimented with. In the end, it was difficult, so we ended up having 4 or 5 involved. This year, we're going a bit further. We're actually having all the 10 on board. It worked brilliantly, and we actually added the city with the largest population outside the country, and that was in Lisbon, the capital city in Portugal, where we actually added another hub there so that the expatriate Cape Verdeans could actually chime in as well. And it was more than professional, it was emotional. People were actually crying as they stepped up to ask a question because they were getting involved in the future of their country. It was wonderful. I'm getting emotional now.
I think it sounds absolutely fantastic. Let me ask a couple of questions about the practicalities. You mentioned that the Cape Verde Islands, very beautiful, internet not necessarily brilliant.
Yes.
How did the technology work with that kind of handicap?
We were only able to do it by having the national telecommunications company involved. It was the only way. We had to have their full focus, and they had to direct everything they had at us. Okay. If the government is involved, it becomes easier, but we actually had the private company wanted to say, wait a minute, we want to say this is possible. We want to show people that it is doable. And we actually made them a little bit more ambitious, which is great because we inspired them. And they were on board. They sponsored the event through this initiative, and they actually took care of the whole thing for us. I'm not really a techie. I love technology, but as an end user. So they came on board. They did the whole thing, and inside the main hub we had all the large screens around which they supplied and they sponsored. We had the going backward and forward with the questions. You were able to to actually ask questions to your members of government, even though you were in an island an hour away, flight away. It was amazing, and we only did it because of the partners that we had in place, because we had the financial backing, because in Cape Verde it would still be very expensive. We had the financial backing of the government, but it had such an impact. All the TVs reported it. It has such an impact that this year it's just expected. So this year we're doing it again in September.
That is fantastic. One of the things I wanted to know, though, is, sometimes when you present technology to people, they're a bit daunted by it.
Eyes glaze over.
Absolutely. How did people respond to this idea of, you're now being seen in several locations? Were they at all nervous? Did people get scared?
Yeah, people. At first, you find that the first hour people are terrified. They don't know. They keep fidgeting, and and the speakers don't know where to look. And after, it's amazing what happens. Yes, I think it's a bit like Big Brother. I think after an hour, people are blissfully unaware that they're actually being observed. And we went a step further by making sure that we had really well-trained and well-rehearsed staff in the room, in every single hub, that would actually be able to keep warning people, keep signing to them, keep telling them, actually help them to communicate and to maneuver and how to do it. So we had like a beta test beforehand. It worked really well, but you need to support people, because technology makes people nervous, especially when they're being observed and it's taped for posterity. Oh my God, it's frightening. Yeah,
I think that's a very good point. I suppose one of the questions that a lot of people are going to be thinking about is, you're clearly a convert. You've gone from that to an even bigger event. Can you produce figures in terms of return on investment that says, if we put everyone on the airplane bus, it would have cost this, but by doing it, it's cost us this?
Oh no, I haven't got the figures to hand, but I know we did it, and the whole budget was about a fifth what it would have been had we brought everybody in. I'm not even including Lisbon. I mean, if we'd brought people in from Lisbon, that would have been ridiculous. So in fact, without even considering that we were including a country in Europe, it was about the fifth of the cost. And it's one of the arguments that it's not just about money, it's about time investment, it's about taking people out of the office, it's about we were able to have the input of professors, of students, bringing everybody on board, people that would never have been there. Four things that impact on people's lives, having them contribute with their own opinion and their own positioning, has a price tag that is just unimaginable. And the reason that the government brought into doing it for all the islands this year, even the tiniest island with about 52,000 people, is because it became a conversation in itself. The televisions were fascinated. They reported on it. And when they reported, they actually started off by saying the right thing. It's because the government wanted to hear everybody's opinion. So it became inclusive. It was about inclusivity. It was about the government caring. It's about transmitting a message that is beyond the actual conversation in itself.
I think that is absolutely marvellous. One of the things that really interests me is that a few years ago I was involved in a study about when events become these hybrid events, multi-site events, and so many organisers were saying, oh well, if people don't have to go very far, maybe they won't come to our main event. And it sounds as though you've completely turned that on its head by having a much bigger audience.
Not only do we have a bigger audience, but I can actually tell you that the people already committed to the main conference has also grown by 33%. So it's not just because what you now have is the people who are in Lisbon, for example, have a higher standard of living, all want to go out and be part of the main event. You've got exhibitors and sponsors wanting to be on site with their brands and activating their brands because you've got this behind and everybody's looking at it. It's about doing it wisely. It's not about the central event anymore. It's about I have a communications company, so I know the value of having your brand online, of having it for posterity, of people clicking on. And so we this time we're not even going to have the government needing to pitch up with the money. We're going to have sponsors actually wanting to be part of the event. So it's way beyond just the conversation.
That's brilliant. Linda, can I just say a huge thank you
You're
for
welcome.
sharing such an amazing case study. I know our viewers will have been fascinated by that, and I think you'll have changed many perceptions.
Thank you
for
very
joining
much.
us.
My
Thank you.
pleasure.